On our broadcast tonight, dangerous talk. The leader of Iraq visiting New York makes startling claims about an ISIS plot to attack the U.S. and Europe, and it triggers quite a scramble. As tonight we get a first-hand look at the results of those U.S. airstrikes. Inside the manhunt for a suspected cop killer and sniper, tonight our exclusive look as we go along with the search house to house and into the woods. Dream jobs, how these women took the leap out of the rat race and into a profitable life doing what they love. And the captain. Tonight, our exclusive conversation, the farewell interview with Derek Jeter on the night of his last game in Yankee Stadium. And you don't have to be a Yankee fan to appreciate a guy who has played it right. Nightly News begins now.
From NBC News World Headquarters in New York, this is NBC Nightly News with Brian Williams.
Good evening. The new Prime Minister of Iraq, on the job only 6 weeks, learned the hard way today that words have consequences. He made a comment to reporters here in New York today that caused a flurry of activity in American cities and across the Atlantic to Europe. He said he'd been told of a plot by ISIS to attack subways here in the U.S. and in Paris. He was quoting his own Iraqi intelligence. And because this comes during U.S. airstrikes in Syria and Iraq and a heightened alert status already, U.S. officials were forced to immediately scramble into action, and they ended up spending much of this day assuring American citizens they were, in fact, safe. It's where we begin tonight with NBC's Kate Snow.
Enhanced security today at New York City subway stations after the Iraqi prime minister said his country had uncovered a plot involving ISIS fighters from America and France. Asked if the plot was imminent, he said he wasn't sure. But virtually every major U.S. law enforcement and intelligence agency, from the FBI to the CIA, came out quickly and emphatically, saying they had no evidence of any such plot against the U.S.
From the U.S. intelligence community's perspective, there simply is nothing in the near term from this threat that is truly credible.
In New York City, Chicago, and Washington, D.C., officials scrambled to issue statements assuring Americans their cities are safe. The governor of New York traveled to Manhattan to make a show of riding mass transit.
We believe that our state of preparedness is higher than it has ever been since 9/11.
We joined New York City's mayor and police commissioner on the number 6 train.
Mr. Mayor, there are no security checkpoints going into the New York City subway system, so how can you assure the public that you're protecting against any threat?
You may be asked to open your bag. You may find that there are some spot checkpoints set up, but until we have something we believe is credible, we're not going to use all the measures we might use if we were to have a credible threat.
FBI Director James Comey said today the terror threat to the U.S. is about the same today as it was last week. But he also said ISIS is still a worry. We believe they are looking to try to do something in the U.S., he told reporters, which is what has many Americans on edge.
Some analysts have pointed out that perhaps Iraq would have incentive to talk and spread word about terrorist threats, because if the American public is more concerned, the theory goes, then perhaps they'll be more supportive of U.S. military action taking place against ISIS. Brian.
Kate Snow at a subway stop in Manhattan. Kate, thanks. And meantime, this U.S.-led coalition pounded away again today at a fresh set of ISIS targets in both Iraq and Syria. With the new promise of more air power on the way from the British, our team is on the ground tonight on both fronts. Richard Engel on the Syrian border and Bill Neely in northern Iraq. First to Richard to start us off.
An alleged ISIS oil refinery destroyed by an American airstrike. One of at least 41 bombings against ISIS in Syria in 24 hours. But ISIS isn't stopping. A website backing the group released video claiming to show ISIS fighters firing heavy weapons at the Syrian town of Kobani. It's home to 400,000 Kurds. If Kobani falls, there'll be a humanitarian disaster. These refugees from Kobani are determined not to let that happen. They fled into Turkey, but now they're lining up to go back.
These men have decided that now is the time to fight ISIS. While the U.S. is carrying out airstrikes, they want to be the boots on the ground. And many of them don't expect to survive.
I'll fight the terrorists with a knife, with my hand, says this man. Turkey had to bring in riot police to keep order.
They will die. They are going to die. I hope this makes change for my city,
The U.S. has been looking for ground partners in this war. These men, encouraged by U.S. action, are taking action to defend their own country. Richard Engel, NBC News, on the Turkey-Syria border.
This is Bill Neely in Erbil, northern Iraq, with Kurdish troops who have ISIS on the run. They've retaken hilltops held by ISIS, destroyed their vehicles, cleared them from villages, all with the help of US airstrikes, this one on an ISIS position in the last 24 hours. On the front line, they show me the ISIS target they'll attack next. The fighters here say the American airstrikes have been vital and they want more. Before the US offensive, ISIS seemed unstoppable. Not anymore. ISIS leave dozens of IEDs as they retreat. The Kurds are wary, battle-hardened, but in need of heavy weapons. Then, they say, they can drive out ISIS faster and for good. Bill Neely, NBC News, Erbil, northern Iraq.
The identity of the masked executioner in those ISIS propaganda videos has remained a mystery for weeks. Tonight, however, FBI director says they think they know who the man is. For now, they're not releasing a name or any information about his location. He's believed to have beheaded 2 American journalists and a British aid worker. Eric Holder, the first and only African American to serve as U.S. Attorney General, announced today that after 6 years on the job, he's stepping down. President Obama has yet to name a nominee to replace him. Republicans who have waited for this day for a long time are applauding his exit, but in emotional remarks today, Holder said he walks away having fulfilled a lifelong ambition.
I have loved the Department of Justice ever since as a young boy. I watched Robert Kennedy prove during the Civil Rights Movement how the department can and must always be a force for that which is right.
Holder says he's going to remain in office until his replacement is confirmed. We should let you know our justice correspondent Pete Williams will have an exclusive conversation with the outgoing Attorney General on this broadcast tomorrow evening. Elsewhere in the U.S. tonight, a desperate search by the FBI and police goes on tonight for a missing college student after a suspect in her disappearance was arrested in Galveston, Texas, far from where he and she were last seen in the UVA campus in Charlottesville, Virginia, 12 days ago. The latest tonight from NBC's Gabe Gutierrez.
You have the right to remain silent.
After a nationwide manhunt, today the man suspected of abducting missing University of Virginia sophomore Hannah Graham appeared in court for the first time.
We are assisting him in every way possible to locate that young lady.
On surveillance video, 32-year-old Jessie Matthew was seen with Graham the night she vanished 2 weeks ago, leaving her parents in agony.
But Hannah is also our little girl. She's our only daughter.
Matthew was arrested Wednesday some 1,300 miles away on a beach in Texas.
He was real soft-spoken. Didn't say a whole lot.
Still, someone recognized him, and when a deputy ran the license plate on the car Matthew was driving, he was taken into custody. He has not entered a plea. He'll soon return to Virginia, and today police from there arrived to question him. In Charlottesville, the arrest brought some relief.
I'm really glad that he's been found. I think that's kind of a relief for all of us.
But tonight, the search has expanded to the vast Virginia countryside, and there's still no sign of Hannah Graham. Gabe Gutierrez, NBC News, Galveston, Texas.
Now to the northeast Pennsylvania. The man accused of killing a state trooper in an ambush nearly 2 weeks ago now remains on the run tonight, but leaving behind evidence as he is playing a kind of life and death game of hide and seek with police. Tonight, NBC's Ron Allen takes us inside this search.
The front line of the dangerous, relentless manhunt, a tactical ATF squad tracking suspected cop killer Eric Freen. Countless possible hideouts.
Burglary! Burglary!
The garage of an empty summer home was not locked, but no sign of Freen inside.
Everybody's kind of walking on eggshells. I just don't want anybody else to die.
The woods out here are incredibly dense. You can see the brushes waist deep. You can only go so far very slowly and very carefully because remember, there's an armed gunman out there they're trying to find. The dragnet still targeting a 3 to 5 square mile zone near Freen's home. These NBC News exclusive pictures show investigators at the home. Relatives there have refused our request to talk. Have you had contact with him? Are you sure you know where he is?
We're finding items that lead us to believe he is living in and around that area.
That fresh evidence, this cigarette pack, a unique brand police say Freen favors, and soiled adult diapers, perhaps used by Freen to stay hidden in one position for an extended period of time. Also, several possible sightings, signs he's playing cat and mouse in the extremely rugged terrain. A source says spider holes are a big concern, shoulder deep, used for hiding or firing, camouflaged on top. An expanding operation up to 1,000 officers now, hot on the trail of a suspected killer who allegedly took the life of one of their own. Ron Allen, NBC News, Barrett Township, Pennsylvania.
The chief of police in Ferguson, Missouri, apologized today to the family of the young man whose killing by a police officer caused weeks of angry protests in that city. In a recorded video, Thomas Jackson told the parents of Michael Brown he was, quote, truly sorry for the loss of their son and sorry it took so many hours to remove his body from the crime scene. He said the investigating officers meant no disrespect. A lawyer for the Brown family said the apology comes at a time when trust and confidence in the chief has reached what he called an irreversible low. Still ahead for us tonight, farewell to the captain, our exclusive interview with Derek Jeter, as his home crowd, and for that matter all of baseball, says goodbye to the future Hall of Famer. And later, take this job and love it. It's not hard if you're a softie for a face like these.
Shortstop, number 2, Derek Jeter, number 2.
Tonight, not far from here, there will be an emotional gathering in the Bronx, provided the weather cooperates. This will be the last home game for one of the greatest players in the game, one of the greatest of all time. The captain of the Yankees, number 2, as you heard, Derek Jeter. Baseball fans in their 20s have never known another Yankee shortstop in their lifetime. Yankee fans in their 80s can say they saw DiMaggio and Gehrig and Mantle, and now Jeter.
I always wanted to be a shortstop for the Yankees since I was 4 years old, and been fortunate to do it. But everything that comes along with it wasn't part of the dream. I mean, it's all icing on the cake.
If the old place was the house that Ruth built, then this Yankee Stadium is most certainly the one that Jeter built. And on a crisp autumn day, as much as he'd prefer to be heading for the playoffs, Derek Jeter instead is giving thanks as he heads for the exit.
I'm very appreciative of how the fans have treated me, how the people of New York, and especially this season, even going to opposing ballparks. The whole situation has been surreal to me.
Standing ovations at all the visiting ballparks for the man the commissioner says has honored the game simply by playing it. It's hard to be a saint in this city, but over the past 2 decades, if you don't count the sports pages, Derek Jeter has largely stayed out of the papers, in stark contrast to the ugliness unraveling in the NFL. A rare, kid-friendly, parent-friendly athlete who has learned how to be a leader.
I learned something from watching Mr. Torre for all these years. You always hear the phrase, you treat everyone the same. Well, that's not correct. I mean, you treat everyone fairly. You got to try to be the same every day. I mean, you don't come and hold your head up high when things are going well, and then when things are going bad, you find a way to hide. Leadership, I don't think, is something that's appointed. I think it's something that's earned.
You've had so much success, yet you always call this a game of failure. Why is that?
You fail 7 out of 10 times, people think you're great. So it's definitely a game you have to learn to control your emotions, and I'm still trying to do that.
Hit toward the hole, Jeter backhands from the outfield grass.
On the field, he has given his all. We have seen him flip and dive and go down, but we've only been able to see what's on the field because that's the way he has wanted it.
I have always drawn the line between what I do as a career and my private life. I think once you open that door and you share everything with everyone, there's no closing it. You have to keep something special, and for me, my private life is what I like to keep special.
Here's the kid, Derek Jeter, hunting for his first major league hit and sends a base hit into left.
His fans know his highlight reel by heart, and they know his stats, the numbers he's racked up that will allow him to walk into the Hall of Fame. All-time Yankee hit leader. 5 World Series rings, 14 All-Star games, and now he gets to write the rest of the story.
First and foremost, I want to rest. I don't want to have a schedule. I've been doing this professionally for 23 years, and I've been playing baseball since I've been 4 or 5, so I really haven't had much time off. I'm not complaining, but I'm looking forward to having some time off.
I've been asked by many people to ask if your future will ever include a Mrs. Jeter.
Yeah, of course. I look forward to having a family. You know, I just don't think personally I would have been able to juggle a family and my career at the same time because, you know, I put a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of effort into my career. I have the utmost respect for these guys that are able to do it. You know, missing their kids' birthdays and not being able to see them play t-ball or summer ball and missing a lot of time. I just don't think I would have been able to juggle that. So it's another reason why I feel as though now's the time. I mean, I want to have a family. Who knows when it's going to be, but I look forward to it.
And after tonight's game in the Bronx, the Yankees head to, of all places, Boston, the other city in one of the great rivalries in all of sports. And with that in mind, we have a bit more to show you tomorrow night. The breaking news here is we have detected signs that Derek Jeter has softened toward Boston, the people and the players. We will air the evidence here tomorrow night. First, a break for us tonight. We're back in a moment with something new on the web that's helping to raise money to battle cancer. Made by Hoda Kotb, 2 amazing singers, and a whole lot of very special helpers. 3 New York City firefighters died on the same day this week, all 3 within hours of each other, but none of them died as the result of a fire. All 3 were delayed casualties of 9/11. Retired Lieutenant Howard Bischoff, retired firefighters Daniel Hagelin and Robert Lever all died on Monday. All 3 men had worked on the pile at Ground Zero, searching for survivors and remains. All 3 died of illnesses as a result. 343 New York City firefighters died on 9/11 after going into danger. Now 92 more have died from the dangers that were unleashed in the environment. The city says 850 first responders are currently being treated for World Trade Center-related cancers. As soon as this video hit the air on the Today Show this morning, tens of thousands of dollars in donation money came rolling into the American Cancer Society. Hoda Kotb, who in her own life found music to be some of the best medicine when she was fighting cancer, teamed with Cyndi Lauper and Sarah Bareilles for a mashup of 2 of the singer's biggest songs, Cindy's True Colors and Sarah's song called Brave. They created Truly Brave. It's intended as a kind of new theme for young cancer patients, some of whom, as you see, were there to help out. You can see the entire video, find a way to donate on our website, NBCnews.com. And up next, giving the rat race the heave-ho to follow a dream and actually make some money along the way.
Own Your Future is brought to you by Voya Financial, changing the way you think of retirement.
Finally, here tonight, we begin a new series we're calling Own Your Future. It's about reinvention, finding out that a second act is indeed possible in life, especially if it means pursuing something you love. Tonight, NBC's Ann Thompson kicks us off with the stories of 2 women who have done just that.
Linda Wake's career has gone to the dogs by design.
I wasn't ready to completely retire, but yet I needed the change.
The general manager of a Bloomingdale's in Virginia, Wake's left to combine her 30 years in retail with what she loves.
We're going to let you jump. Thank you so much.
She bought a pet store that today employs 6 people and turns a profit.
When people ask me about it, I do get all smiley because it's my store, and I'll say it's my store.
Monique Greenwood figured out her recipe for success 13 years ago. Then editor-in-chief of Essence magazine, she came home to the Brooklyn bed and breakfast she ran on the side to realize she was jealous of her guests.
Because what they were doing for themselves, I wasn't doing for me. And you cannot give if you have an empty cup. Good to meet you.
Greenwood chose innkeeping and built the Aquaba B&Bs.
These hands are making breakfast. These hands may be making beds. These hands are writing bills.
Today, there are more than 9 million women-owned businesses, a number that's tripled in 30 years.
It is a longer, more financially responsible life. And if you're not in charge of it, it's going to be pretty rough.
What's the toughest thing about going out on your own?
Getting over the fear of failure.
It hasn't all been success, but today Greenwood and her husband own 4 inns.
How's your tummy?
And Wakis is thinking about what's next.
Every day when I make a decision, there's a little bit of something I learned in the past.
Look at that. All to secure her future. Ann Thompson, NBC News, Brooklyn.
And that is our broadcast for a Thursday night. Thank you for being here with us. I'm Brian Williams. Of course, we hope to see you right back here tomorrow evening. Good night.